Right, we now come to the urgent question. Greg Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To ask the Secretary of State for Business and Trade if he will make a statement on the Plant Oxford site.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government is determined to see a strong, thriving UK automotive industry. We recognise the vital role the British motor industry plays within our manufacturing landscape, employing over 150,000 people, with tens of thousands more working in the wider supply chain. It's why we're ploughing £2 billion into the sector's green transition and £300 million encouraging the uptake of new, clean, green electric vehicles, a big incentive for the global automotive sector to invest in the UK. Building on this momentum, our modern industrial strategy will back automotive companies who want to invest in Britain and drive long-term sustainable UK growth. We know that BMW has taken a commercial decision to delay the production of 2 new electric Mini models at its Oxford plant. I know this news will undoubtedly be unsettling for the company's many hard-working employees, not least those working directly on the production line. But I must stress that BMW remains committed to its investment in the UK, and it is by no means unusual for a manufacturer to adjust their product lineup or production start dates for commercial reasons. We are proud that BMW considers Oxford the heart of Mini production, and as a government we're throwing our weight behind its investments. We want big automotive brands from Britain and around the world to lie at the heart of our growth mission and our plan for change, creating well-paid jobs and putting more money into people's pockets. As part of that effort, this government is working closely with BMW as it reviews its investment timelines, ensuring that more cars are built right here in the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I draw attention to my entry in the Register of Interests. Now, I expected the Secretary of State to hide from talk of CVs. It seems that also applies to EVs, because this weekend we saw the disastrous consequences of Labour's rigid approach to net zero, BMW hitting the brakes on a £600 million investment into Plant Oxford. That deal from 2023 would have secured 4,000 high-quality jobs and was a strong vote of confidence in the UK. Like other deals, this was only possible because the previous government was willing to be pragmatic. Conservatives made the sensible decision to delay the ban on internal combustion engine cars, bringing the UK into line with major global economies, France, Germany, Sweden, Canada. But Labour said they knew better, restoring the 2030 phase-out date in their manifesto. And when the negative impacts of that approach became clear, they launched a fast-track consultation on the ZEV mandate, pitifully attempting to buy themselves time. But surely no consultation is necessary. The effects of their puritanical ZEV obsession is already clear. JLR say the ZEV mandate is causing severe disruption to the market. Vauxhall confirmed it would shut down its Luton factory, citing the ZEV mandate, making the plant less economically viable. And now the future of Plant Oxford, the home of the Mini since 1959, is uncertain. Labour's reckless policies have shattered industry confidence, with consumer demand for EVs dropping off a cliff, with numbers only just about sustained by subsidised fleet sales. So will the Minister do the right thing? Stop hiding behind consultations and acknowledge their ideological approach to net zero will only lead to economic disaster for our automotive sector and consumers alike?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's hard to know where to start, really. The puritanical ZEV obsession was, as the Honourable Gentleman knows, a Conservative policy from the last government. The only changes that were made to that policy under the last Prime Minister was to dampen demand by changing the deadline, but hampering manufacturers by not changing any of the flexibilities or pragmatism in how the policy operated. It was the worst of both worlds. Labour, by contrast, and this government, by contrast, is acting with pragmatism. We are ensuring that we are listening to industry. We are ensuring that we get this right. We are working at pace to do that, but we are also creating the conditions in which the automotive industry can thrive. That doesn't just mean delivering the economic stability and political stability that was so lacking under the previous government. It also means delivering an industrial strategy that delivers growth, including the automotive industry. It means investing £2 billion in the budget for automotive transition. It means investing in R&D. It means supporting our industries and talking to them and understanding the global climate. It was really clear in the statement that BMW made that there were macroeconomic, global and commercial reasons why the decision to delay has been made. But BMW are also clear that they are still committed to this investment in the UK. I have talked to my friend, the Right Honourable Member for Oxford East, who is liaising closely with workers and unions there, as you would expect, and we will continue to work in the right. We will continue to work to make sure we have the right economic and political climate to make sure these industries can grow.
Sonia Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Minister update the House on the progress on the industrial strategy and the automotive industry in particular, and how the paper will support our places like the supply chains like Dudley and across the West Midlands?
Minister.
I thank my honourable friend for that question. The industrial strategy we are working at pace on delivering that in the spring. There are 150,000 good jobs in the automotive industry, and we want to see those jobs grow. We have identified 8 growth sectors that the industrial strategy will turbocharge, and advanced manufacturing is one of those, which of course includes the auto industry. We have the £2 billion investment that was committed at the last budget to underpin that. Also in the industrial strategy, we are working at what are any barriers to growth that we can identify that we can make sure the sector grows over the years to come. The industrial strategy will be that 5-10 year, give the stability that we need over the long term, but also look at the policy levers that are in our control to make sure businesses continue to want to invest in the UK. And indeed, PwC have just ranked the UK as the second best place in the world to invest, so I think the future is positive.
Liberal Democrat spokesperson Clive.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This is yet another failure of the government's main aim to get Britain growing again. Zero-emission vehicles are too expensive and appear too hard to manufacture in the UK, forcing us into an unfortunate reality where we are reliant on Elon Musk for our supply of EVs, funneling money into his already very deep pockets, rather than promoting a productive domestic market with good jobs. We need to show ambition and make it easier for ordinary families to buy EVs. What measures will the government take to support and encourage consumer demand for electric vehicles?
Minister.
The Honourable Gentleman talks about our policies in this government to grow the economy. We held an international investment summit a few months ago where £63 billion of investment was announced. £2 billion, as I've already mentioned, in the budget announced for the automotive industry. Interest rates have been cut 3 times, wages are up, more than 70,000 jobs have been secured in the UK since this government came to power. The IMF and the OECD predict that the UK will be Europe's fastest growing economy over the next few years, and our industrial strategy, which was scrapped under the last government, will be the backbone to ensure we deliver growth. He asked what we are doing. I've already set out the stability, investment and reform that we are bringing to the sector to make sure it can thrive. We have hundreds of thousands of people who rely on the automotive industry, who work within it or within its supply chains. These are good, well-paid jobs, and we are absolutely determined to make sure the sector grows.
Antonia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister has set out how we delivered £2 billion worth of support for the automotive sector at the budget, both for the manufacturing and for the crucial supply chains in places like my Black Country constituency, as well as in Oxford. Is she able at this point to set out any further details about how this money is going to be used to support our brilliant manufacturing?
Can I thank my honourable gentleman, my honourable friend, for her question and for her support for the industry, which is so important. We have, through the £2 billion funding and through the Automotive Transformation Fund, through the Exceptional Regional Growth Fund and through the Advanced Propulsion Centre R&D Fund, a lot of innovative ways in which we are supporting industry. I was really pleased to see just in January Jatco, who make transmissions for Nissan, announcing that they will be putting the first manufacturing plant in Europe here in the UK, converting an old hospital building. That's a £50 million investment. It's going to be at the International Advanced Manufacturing Park in Sunderland. These are the kinds of opportunities that we want to create and deliver.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Jaguar Land Rover, which has its engine manufacturing centre based in Staffordshire, is a vital employer, not just for Staffordshire, but right across the West Midlands. That plant is pioneering the development of electric vehicles for JLR. What additional support and flexibility is the government going to show to make sure great British brands continue to prosper in the West Midlands?
Well, the honourable gentleman is right to talk about great British brands. We have some incredible small car manufacturers as well as the larger here in the UK, and we have a big diversity of that provision, and we are going to make sure, whether it's through supporting the development of gigafactories here in the UK, so we're making the batteries that we need, whether it's helping with R&D and innovation to make our cars more sophisticated and more efficient, or whether it's support to the large manufacturers to make sure the conditions are right to develop here in the UK. We are doing all of those things through our industrial strategy and our automotive strategy. I work with the Automotive Council. We met just a couple of weeks ago talking about the vibrant future that we see in the UK for automotive, and I'm always happy to talk to JLR, as I have done several times, about their plans.
Whereas, Mr. Speaker, now I know the Shadow Minister struggles with the dynamics of the automotive industry. 50% of new vehicle sales for the last 20 years have been fleet and business sales. But does the Minister agree with me that the decision taken today is a commercial decision based around the structure of BMW's dealer network as opposed to an obsession with petrol and diesel vehicles?
My honourable friend is absolutely right that this is a commercial decision, and we are talking, as you would expect, to BMW. My officials were with them in Munich a couple of weeks ago, and then speaking to them a couple of weeks, I've met with the UK MD several times, as you would expect. And we are talking to them to support those commercial decisions that they need to make. They made clear that there were macroeconomic, global and commercial reasons why this delay has been announced. It's not uncommon for these delays to be there, and I know that BMW remains committed to this investment in the UK.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are more than 300 employees at the BMW plant in Oxford who live in my constituency of Bicester and Woodstock. This morning I met with plant conveners from the Unite Union to discuss the impact that the uncertainty at the plant is having on these workers and their families. So can the Minister outline for the House exactly how the new industrial strategy will help the plant be more competitive in the face of severe competition from other BMW plants in the EU, US and China?
So the honourable gentleman is right to highlight the concern that I suspect employees feel. They have known about this change since last year, but there's 3,500 people who work in that Oxford plant, and many more who work either in Rolls-Royce, which is owned by BMW, or in other parts in the UK. There are a number of issues that we are looking at through the industrial strategy that we will use the £2 billion for, and we will use the powers that we have. Skills, access to finance, energy costs, these are all issues that we are having lots of conversations about, as well as the transition to electric vehicles. And we are making sure that the flight path for investment into the UK is as good as possible, and that those who are already investing in the UK will continue to do so. BMW have announced a £300 million investment in their Rolls-Royce company, which they own, and they remain committed to this investment in the UK. But I appreciate appreciate that there will be concerns amongst the workers that he's been talking to, and I'm always happy to meet with people and to discuss those more.
Mr. Kumar.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Tata's Lamwern in my constituency produces world-class automotive steel. So in acknowledging the importance of the automotive sector, as the Minister has, can the Minister also acknowledge the importance of having a strong steel industry and steel plants like Lamwern making steel for EVs and making it at the heart of the forthcoming industrial strategy, which the party opposite never had?
I am glad that my honourable friend has managed to bring steel into the debate, as I always am. It's incredibly important. That's why we're having a separate steel strategy on top of the work that we're doing in the industrial strategy to make sure we have a thriving sector in the future, looking at all of the similar issues, whether it's the transition, whether it's energy prices, whether it's access to finance, whether it's access to the grid connections, all of these issues that we're grappling with, scrap, all of these things that she knows well about, and we will continue to make sure that those 6 steel producers that we have in the UK can thrive, and that indeed we can bring in new business as well.
Samuel Wilson.
Thank you, Speaker. In an earlier answer to the Shadow Secretary of State, the Minister stated that the strategy is resulting in people wanting to invest in the United Kingdom. The sad fact is that every week, as a result of the mad net zero policies that this government is following, we're losing investment. And this is yet another example. So does she not follow the logic? If you punish people for producing the cars that people don't want, then you're going to find that, of course, they'll cut back production, they'll cut back jobs, consumers won't get what they want, and economic growth is going to be affected. When is this government going to come to the conclusion that this policy of net zero and punishing people is wrong?
So I don't know if the honourable gentleman saw, but the CBI brought out some figures just over the weekend showing that the net zero economy grew by 10% last year, which is significantly more than the economy as a whole, as he would understand. We are absolutely right to be transitioning to electric vehicles so that we can stick to our commitments on climate change. What we are doing is being pragmatic in the way that we do that. We are not following the same policy as the previous government, because we are talking to industry, we are consulting. We will be bringing out in due course the results of that consultation about how the flexibilities are working within that transition and whether we need to change them in any way.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the British car industry was thriving until the Conservative Party introduced net stupid zero. And now we've got another car plant at risk, another business struggling, losing hundreds of millions of pounds, and hundreds more British jobs at risk. Will the Minister agree with me that actually the automotive industry in the UK will continue to decline until we scrap net zero?
Here we go, Mr. Speaker, with the same old lines, on the one hand in this place telling us net zero is a massive con, and yet he owns a company investing in electric car charging points. Investing. I rest my case, Mr. Speaker.
That well-known BMW plant in Strangford, Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Minister? It's often the Minister has a real interest in the subject matter that she has ministerial responsibility for. So I want to put it on record my thanks to the Honourable Lady. I know when I've had meetings about other things in Northern Ireland, the Minister's been anxious to help me and support me, and I appreciate that. Minister, the decision not to go ahead with the EV production is disappointing, to say the least, yet it does perhaps maybe indicate a wider issue that we're facing in the manufacturing industry due to rising costs. So what can the Minister do to help companies to be more attractive to investment with lower energy costs, and assurances that government is in support of ensuring that British jobs are not sent to China, and that those firms who choose to relocate jobs will understand that no future aid or help will be forthcoming? Thank you so much.
Can I thank the honourable gentleman for his kind words and for his question? I should be clear, just so the House is really clear, the decision has not been made to not go ahead. This is a delay and a change in timing. It's not that BMW are committed to go ahead with this investment. At the moment, their E-Mini is being produced in China. This investment will bring it to here in the UK. Now, there is lots that must be done in terms of energy prices, as the honourable gentleman says. If you're building a gigafactory, you get a significant reduction in your energy prices, but I know that the manufacturing sector more widely are talking to us virtually every day about these kinds of issues, and through the industrial strategy and the reforms that we want to bring in, and through spending that £2 billion that we had in the budget, we hope to deliver a thriving automotive industry well into the future.
Right, that completes the urgent question. Let the front bench change over.